Five, four. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Regular season is in the books. Boy, oh boy. Michigan, Ohio State. If you're the Buckeyes, oh my God. For the fourth year in a row, you lose to Michigan, but this season was your best chance to get even. This was your chance to get over the hump over Michigan. And then the fact that what happened after the game was crazy. The Big Ten announced a 100,000 fine for both Michigan and Ohio State for the melee that happened after the game. There was flag planting from Wolverines defensive back Rod Moore. You had some trash talk from both teams. I mean, this is a classic rivalry, Michigan and Ohio State, and it just erupted. It had everything. But Ohio State, if they wanted to show some fight, they should have done it in the game, not after the game. Go ahead.
The most interesting thing about this game, it wasn't like it was a high scoring game. It was 13-10 score. You know, this is kind of something you expected maybe from the Georgia Tech Georgia game. And it's interesting because the head coach of the Georgia Tech game said, their rivalry is just clean, old-fashioned hate. And I love that quote. But the thing about the Michigan Ohio State game is like I told a colleague if Michigan needed to be Michigan, it was this weekend to you kind of show they still are a great football team. What happened afterwards kind of mars, a good game. And it was weird because this is a noon game that, believe it or not, kind of kicked off the chaos that is, rivalry week, because usually the last weekend of the season are a lot of rivalries, a lot of in-state rivalries, a lot of conference rivalries. So it marred a good game. It marred that Michigan, took out Ohio State. I think the Big Ten did probably the best thing they could by finding both schools, because as much as I love college football, I love the intensity. Gentlemen, you don't need there's nothing wrong with a little, trash talk here or there if you keep it at the talk. Because now, with this, a fight breaks out, someone gets hurt. And, I live in Florida. We got a lot of high school rivalries that, go back years. And occasionally some of those rivalries have escalated to the point where it should not happen. So I love the intensity of these rivalries. Your Michigan, Ohio State, your Texas and Texas A&M coach Sarkisian actually stopped his players from what could have been, another fight breaking out. But there's this thing that we love about college football, that for all the intensity, it doesn't need to boil over. I love a good rivalry like any other college football fan, and the weird thing is, and it's kind of, I had this thought over the past number of months and years, it's kind of to the point where people may not care anymore. It's sad to say. I'm like, people may not care anymore. And these are young men that their future, they want to play professional football. And in order to get to that level, they also have to realize that sometimes it's better to walk away. There's nothing wrong with the intensity. There's nothing wrong with the drive of wanting to compete. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I beat you. But there's also knowing to not necessarily turn the other cheek, but say, hey, great game. Keep up the great work. Maybe I'll see you down the road, and let that be that.
Yeah, yeah. But Ohio State, they really disappointed me. I was so disappointed. They play great defense. They're a great defensive team, but they were very disappointed. They disappointed me as a Miami Hurricane fan. They disappointed me, but I don't want to get into them right now. But I do want to get into this team that I had the privilege of writing an article for them, and I'm happy with what they're doing with their program. Super beyond happy. And I just wrote an article recently. We got to give a huge props salute to Marshall Thundering Herd. They won their first Sun Belt East Division title in their program history. And the coach, his post-game press conference, it was sensational how he started off. He thanked the man above, everything, a man of faith, just a man of faith. That that was just a beautiful speech.
It
So,
was.
and it was,
I'm really happy to see how Marshall has come in the past, I want to say about 5 years. Anyone, as a college football fan, one thing we know about college football teams is you get into the history of these schools, and Marshall has a very wonderful history, yet a tragic history. And sometimes we can't help but grasp onto that. You feel for the organization, the institution, and for any player that has essentially played for that school after 1972, they they know what to bring to that school. And one probably interesting alumnus of Marshall is Randy Moss. So playing for that school and knowing the history behind it, and even current players going to the school or have the opportunity to play, they want to instill for those that, like anything, for any people that came before you, you want to respect them. You want to do them proud, almost like, a parent to a child and vice versa, a child to a parent or an older sibling. This year's Marshall team has done a very great job of not only lifting up the program for the past few years, but also maintaining this level of like still joy for a team that historically is marred by tragedy. So this is wonderful for the School of Marshall. And like I said, during this entire season of college football, when you have these other schools that are now getting the limelight, the spotlight, the notoriety, it's really good for college football all the way around. So I look to see, maybe transfer portal opening up for Marshall, maybe more recruits looking at Marshall. Because, like anything, and we mentioned this earlier this season, the coach for Northern Illinois, when you have a great coach that not only instills a great playing style with their players, but also lifts up his players for who they can be, not just as football players, but as men, that's something that parents and other coaches want their sons to go to. So I definitely look forward to Marshall in the next couple of years. This is just, one stepping stone for an already, great school.
yeah, when I think about Marshall, I think about two things. I think about Randy Moss, and I think about that terrible, tragic, um, oh my God, it's a painful thing when I first learned about it. But in honor of Marshall, them winning the division title, and I'm looking forward to see how they're gonna perform for the Sun Belt Championship. I'm looking forward to that. But I'm gonna be watching We Are Marshall. I've seen it once, the movie. I gotta see it again.
That's it.
So I'm definitely
If
gonna
you
take a look at
have, yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen We Are Marshall, I mean, it's one of those, if you like sports movies, it's a easy top five. It's an easy top five that
it. Super
if you're a
emotional.
sports fan, and it doesn't even have to be a football. It doesn't have to be like you just as a football fan, because there are a lot of great, football movies, but just a sports fan in general, it's an easy top five movie because you not only see, the what happened in terms of the plane crash and the tragedy, but how the community as well as the football team, grew. And believe it or not, aside from Matthew McConaughey's performance, Anthony Mackie, I can't forget of the player he played in the movie offhand, but his character was injured. His character was injured and couldn't make the game, and it hurt. It hurt him. Survival's good as it is, but it's a great game. Have tissues available, because sometimes even just the background of the story, but just the other characters and the other players that essentially they, for lack of a better term, they had to rebuild this team from the ground up,
Yep.
because of it. But great movie, an easy top five sports movie, easy top five sports movie.
In a lighter mood, South Carolina Gamecocks. What a remarkable victory over rival Clemson Tigers. For true Gamecock fans, this is their Super Bowl. This felt like their Super Bowl win. And what a magnificent game. Definitely one of my favorites of this weekend that passed. Sellers, man. Sellers. What a gamer. What a
Yeah,
performer.
it's again,
Hopefully next year. Hopefully next year. I mean, I don't blame anyone that thought that he should have been at least a consideration for Heisman Trophy. But hopefully next year he could be a front runner for that. But what a gamer he is, what a performer. That head coach, I'm becoming a big fan of him. Seeing him visibly emotional in the post game press conference. I mean, him just like the coach of Marshall, just like the coach of Northern Illinois. Those are guys you want to play for. Those are the type of guys that you want to play for. You want your kids to play for them. So this was a very impressive victory, Avery. And I'll be I'll be honest with you, Avery. I'm a person that I've already taken out the emotion side of losses. I did it this weekend when Miami lost to Syracuse. I quickly snapped out of it. But I will be honest that I'll be pissed. Temporarily, I'll be pissed if South Carolina is not one of the top 12 teams in the playoffs. I really want them there. I respect Alabama, but I will not put Alabama over Arizona State, and I will not put them over South Carolina. Even though Arizona State is sitting at number 12 right now, but South Carolina is sitting at number 13 right now, in which that's what we're going to talk about last, the AP Top 25 that was released yesterday. But tomorrow night, Tuesday night, is
yes,
the big decision that the committee will make. So,
yeah.
but South Carolina, and for me, I would put them at least number 11.
I, this is a tough one because they absolutely played a great game. Again, like I told some colleagues, if at this game I gave it to South Carolina. I picked South Carolina over Clemson. I thought there was something about South Carolina. They had an up and down season. They had moments of brilliance. They have moments of excellence, but like anything, they just were not consistent. They played a very, very, very good game. Again, the score kind of doesn't dictate. It was only 17-14 to South Carolina, but still, this was a good game, another in-state rivalry game that's always played. Intensity is always there. Yeah, I mean, for and like we said before, when you have a little help, in other games which occurred this weekend, and I agree with you right there, even as an Alabama fan. I mean, to put South Carolina above Alabama, and then
And I
like you said,
forgot
we're
for a
gonna
moment that
talk.
you're an
Yeah,
Alabama
and like
fan
you
until
said,
now.
let's go into the AP poll because here's the thing about the college playoff. AP poll got released today. College playoff is going to get released tomorrow. But still, the thing about the playoff is we still have these conference championships,
Yeah.
which dictate that as well. So if we can segue into AP poll, because right now you're talking about like Alabama at 12 and Arizona State. I'm sorry, you have Alabama at 11 and Arizona State at 12. I mean, just right there, you're looking at something odd, but Arizona State, has their opportunity as well. And then anyone above them, like for 10, you have Boise State. For 9, you have Indiana, and then at
Indiana.
8, you have SMU. So,
SMU has been an impressive story.
eh,
Impressive story.
eh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just as at the beginning of the year, we were talking about Navy and Army. SMU again is one of those schools that's kind of like they're like under the radar. We talk about them occasionally until they've like played a school and they've done really well. Same thing about Boise State. Boise State has kind of kept under the radar all year, you know, and not only that, I mean, they also have
Ashton
the Heisman
Genty.
Trophy. They
Ashton
also have a
Genty.
Heisman Trophy running back potential right
Genty.
there. And their game Friday afternoon was just absolutely impressive, not only just for the school, but also for Ashton Gentry's chances of, that Heisman finalist. I mean, this is we talked about it a couple years ago when we first, we're just talking about the top four. Now we're talking about 12, and not only that, it's the 4 teams that get the first bye that could be interesting. So if we were looking at the AP poll as of last year, looking at the top 4 teams, you have Oregon at 1, Texas 2, Penn State at 3,
Mm.
and you have Notre Dame sitting at 4. And I only have like one issue with Notre Dame. One, you know, if we were even talking about a 4-team playoff, that's a great 4-team playoff. Not even
Mhm.
talking about college championships yet. That even that in of itself, if we were just talking about a 4 college team playoff, that's a good playoff right there. But there are other interesting, stories and outlined here. Notre Dame sitting at 4. I had this conversation again. Notre Dame needs to make a phone call, talk with their athletic director or their school. They need a conference. Someone told me they probably won't do it, but if there's anybody from Notre Dame, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be part of a conference. You have to, because this could be the opportunity where it does not work in your favor.
And Notre Dame could have been undefeated if it weren't for Northern Illinois. So, but listen. We are seeing one of the best college football seasons ever,
Oh,
ever,
absolutely.
and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Easily, easily. I haven't been this excited about college football maybe since mid 2000s. And granted, I'm always excited about college football, but now, I mean, and before it was just the rankings, and then, the top 4 teams, and even Coach Dabo Sweeney from Clemson, he kind of talked about more ACC schools getting in. And I kind of had this conversation with a colleague about when you get the 12, I did say you're probably going to get more SEC schools than ACC schools. Aside from the SEC championship team, which is either going to be Clemson or SMU. Um, I mean, SEC teams just locked up this year. They always have great games. They have the better strengths of schedules. So, for 12 teams, I'm saying half are going to be SEC, but it also, like, again, it depends on how that pans out. But I mean, even at Boise State, now they're going to play their championship against um UNLV, and they had a great season too. Again, under the radar. but it works in Boise State's favor to not only win, but win convincingly. And then, of course, we have Army with the opportunity of being a service school to win their conference and them getting in. And currently, they're unranked. And currently, Army is unranked. And then Big 12, I mean, Iowa State and Arizona State, my goodness. Like I
I can't
said
wait
in
for that
my
matchup.
part, like in my part of the honestly, that's the one matchup I want to see.
By the
Honestly,
way,
that's the matchup I want to
by the
see.
way, Avery, since there are, sorry to cut you off, since there's gonna be some intriguing games on Thursday, Friday, we're gonna do four starting Wednesday. We're gonna talk two on Wednesday and two Thursday. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that after this. So,
But
but
yeah, that's
oh, so
they're
many good games.
like I said, they predicted Iowa State to finish last. They predicted Iowa State and BYU. Now, I don't want to downplay BYU. BYU has had a wonderful season as well, but they predicted Iowa State to finish dead last in the Big 12, and now they're playing for the Big 12 championship against Arizona State. Arizona State also very good season, very good season of at least the Saturday games. That's definitely the main one. Of course, you have a rematch of Georgia Texas. Georgia's kind of looking for a bit of revenge. Uh, Penn State Oregon. I think Oregon's probably going to take that no matter what. And then, like I said, Saturday night as well, Clemson, SMU. I mean, when you said if you want to be excited about college football, this is it. This is it. And even when they mention a 12-team playoff, you're like, oh, how's it going to go? It's just going to be based on rankings. But I mean, the way college football has become, and we've even said it, we have our opinions about it, and even coaches have said it, transfer portal being what it is. I mean, if they can lock that down to be more reasonable, I mean, the amount of talent that can be showcased at any school. And I know probably kind of sick of the Colorado reference, but I'm sorry, that's probably the best reference you can get. Coach Sanders going to Jackson State and HBCU and bringing that school to the forefront, then going to Colorado, a decent season in his first year, and now the second season, bowl eligible. He has already stated he wants Shedeur and Travis Hunter, also, in my opinion, I think Heisman finalists, to play in their bowl game. And I think that could be a great motivator for other young men when it comes to the bowl. And I'm not just talking about if your team makes it to the playoff. I'm talking about playing in a bowl, showcasing your play, showcasing your school, representing your school and what it means to be there. I mean, just the excitement of college football itself. It's an over encompassing, I hate to use this term, but value for a fan. And it's amazing to see. And why take that away? Why take that away? And I understand that, injuries, hopefully being, ready for combine to be ready for the draft. But, those are if ands, buts. You're counting the chickens, before they hatch. But, looking into this weekend and, the college playoff of itself, I mean, this excited isn't the word. Like, I'm trying to find another synonym for excited, but I can't. But if you just see my excitement, it's Monday. We're doing this on a Monday.
Enthusiasm.
I'm excited on a Monday. When
You
when have other people not been excited on Mondays if you're not a college football fan?